Beyond 3D.
Good Saturday evening, one and all. Welcome to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Matt and Clint here live in the RWP FM 98.7 and 98.3 studios this Saturday evening. Clint, how's it going?
Good evening, Matt.
How are you?
Great, thank you. It's good to see us both back in the studio this week together at the same time. Instead of doing the usual tag team.
That's the way. So how's it been this week?
What's going on in Korea?
Well,
I know that's it's very left of center.
Well,
question.
Kim Jong-un's half-brother got wasted in...
Yeah, but that was weeks ago.
Malaysia, didn't he?
Yeah, but which Kim Jong is it?
Oh, I don't know which one we're up to.
I get confused between the ungs and the ungs.
Yeah, and the youngs and the ungs. Anyway, the right now, I believe he who shall not be named is starting to rattle sabers in the Korean peninsula.
Oh, sorry, I just thought you meant in the world in general.
Well, no, in this part of the world as well. And what they're doing is they have sent, as they say, wink wink, Navy SEALs and the F-35 fleet, along with aircraft carriers, on war games with the South Koreans.
Now, U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis.
Mad Dog.
This isn't his first dance, is it?
Nah, it wouldn't be.
No.
I wouldn't think so.
So it's pretty much irrelevant what Bozo the Clown turns around and says he wants to have happen. They're going to take a strategic...
They're not going to listen to Trump. What they're going to do is they're going to use typical military maneuvers, and they're doing their war games over there, and what they want to do is just let Kim Jong know that if he does anything wacky with his missiles, there will be hell to pay.
Stance. I was just finishing the sentence. I had one word to go.
So that's what's going on in the Korean peninsula right now. There's a lot of rattling of sabers, and the president there got ousted.
So what have they sent? The Navy or a bomber?
Navy.
Okay.
Navy.
Hang on, just play this. There we go. So I can. Who's at the front of the bow? Is it Trump with Jim Mattis?
Knowing Trump, he'll probably have Bannon at the bow.
Yeah, well, it's definitely going down.
Yeah, there you go. But that's what's going on, I think, in the Korean Peninsula. And I think the Japanese are worried as well, because they're the ones who are in direct line of fire, quite frankly, when it comes to anything to do with North Korea.
Pretty sure the Japanese got a little bit more to worry about than what's going on in Korea.
Yeah, well, they're getting it from both sides, therefore. They're getting on the East Coast from Fukushima, and they're getting it on the West Coast from the Koreans.
The big Fuk.
Yeah.
We're all going to be a bit Fukushima'd soon, aren't we?
Yeah, Fuk it. Yeah, that's the way. So we have to worry about what's going on there. The radiation levels are really something, and they are making their way across the Pacific East towards mainland United States, which will hit around the Seattle, going into Portland area in Washington State and Oregon, and then head down toward California as well. So they have to be wary of that and what's going on over there. But as all of that is going on, being that this is the month of March, it's Sakura Festival over in Japan. So all the flowers in pink are starting to bloom. And all the fun will start to happen, because now you can get sake flavored with sakura. You can get Kit Kat candy bars flavored with sakura flowers. You can get your teas with sakura flowers. A lot of fun.
Been there. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's a nice time of the year.
It's a beautiful time of the year.
And so they're starting to sprout. So that will be the main gist of things going on in Japan right now. They're also getting ready for the Olympics.
Say that again.
They're also getting ready for the Olympics 2020.
Do you know who the official mascot is of the Olympics?
Porco Rosso?
Nope.
Let me think. Yubaba?
No. It's not a
Miyazaki?
It's nothing to do with Miyazaki.
Oh, okay. What is it then?
Goku from Dragon Ball Z.
Really?
Yes.
Oh. They couldn't come up with anything new?
Goku from Dragon Ball Z is... Goku is the shit. Mind you, I'm more of a Vegeta man myself. And you're sitting there scratching your head. You have no idea anything about Dragon Ball Z, do you? That's awesome.
Well, at least it's not Sailor Moon.
No, Goku's like... I can't put my finger on it. Somebody knows what Goku's like. Goku is it.
Yeah.
When it comes to Japanese.
And we're going to have to put a picture up on the Facebook page, I take it?
Yeah, I can do that now.
Yeah, do that.
Easy.
And that way everybody can see what the heck we're talking about.
And
yeah.
The gold medals are supposed to be made out of recycled material. I think it's supposed to be mobile phones.
Can't they make a gold medal out of gold?
Well, it's more of a token thing these days.
It's ridiculous.
Look at the what is it? 5 cent pieces cost more than 5 cents to make.
Oh, not anymore. I think they've fixed that problem depending on what country you're talking about. If you go to the United States, if you can get the Lincoln pennies from before 1964, each penny's worth about 5 cents because it has that much copper in it. Nice. And if you can get the 25-cent piece, the quarters, from the Kennedy quarters especially, so 1964 and back again or something like that, they're worth a lot because they have all silver in them. So they're really worth a lot of money. So yeah, so they're going to start making recycled gold medals.
I'll have a penny one day.
Will at least the silver medal be real?
I don't know. The Olympic Committee doesn't run their stuff by me.
Oh, they should. I mean, heck, cheap. I mean, yeah. Oh, God, it's just terrible.
Got to make it there first.
Yeah, well, it would actually be a very nice trip to go there for the Olympics in 2020. If we're still around in 2020, that is. The way things are going worldwide with all the fun stuff. Now, Clint, did you happen this week to see a picture of Ravioli in space?
What are you talking about?
Did you happen to see?
The answer is no. No. Ravioli in space, no.
Well, I'm gonna have to bring up a picture of you. Cassini.
Yes.
Out near Saturn.
Yes.
Got a picture of one of Saturn's moons.
Yes.
And it looks like a piece of...
I have seen it. I thought you were being literal.
No.
I thought you were literally asking me, have I seen Ravioli in space?
No, it's not a movie or a TV show
Matt,
or something.
Matt, you know I'm very literal. You asked me, you looked at me tonight and you asked me a very specific question.
Well,
this is a thinking show where sometimes neither of us are firing on full cylinders.
Fine, no problem. It looks like a piece of ravioli.
I posted it on our Beyond 3D Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
After you didn't.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Well, no, it looked really interesting. So, guys, look at the Facebook page again, and you can take a look at all the different little things that are going on out in space as far as ravioli. We have some really good, interesting photos from the moon that I'll put up in a couple of minutes, and we also got a really interesting shot of some kind of machinery or something on Mars.
They found another Dyson sphere.
Where?
Not in the backyard.
It better not be in the backyard. We'd be kind of dead if
they found another Dyson sphere out in space.
Okay, way out and where? Okay.
Way out and where?
Okay. That would be interesting to see. Now, the, what was the other one? 20th anniversary of the Phoenix Lights.
Yes.
Which also means it's the 20th anniversary of Hail Bop.
Now, I think it might have been about a week and a half ago, I put on our Facebook page the trailer. Somebody actually turned the Phoenix Lights events into a real movie.
Okay.
Based on the real events of that evening. Mm-hmm. And I have attached the trailer and the movie poster for it to our Facebook page about a week ago. So if anyone wants to have a look at that, just scroll back a week ago and you'll find it.
Yeah, very good. So that's the thing they're saying about the Phoenix Lights is, once again, it hasn't been solved. Probably never will be.
Hang on a minute. You're trying to... No. When they say it hasn't been solved...
They don't know what it was.
The people that are trying to solve it are trying to use conventional science to work out what it is.
Yeah.
And they won't.
Well, okay. What are you going to do?
Well,
But they won't say what it really is. What was it?
Well, who was they?
The government?
Well, they know exactly what it was.
Well, why don't they tell us?
There's been plenty of eyewitnesses that came forward from the Phoenix Lights and said it was a giant black triangle.
How big? Pretty big.
Pretty big. Football stadium size big.
I'm not sure. I think it's a little bit more than that, but that's just me.
No, well, we have to take a break, Matt, so let's talk about it at the back of this.
Okay, fair enough.
Beyond 3D. Welcome back tonight to Beyond 3D. And Matt, you were just discussing the Phoenix Lights.
Yep.
Go for it. You turned around and said, sorry, I said go for it and I interrupted you. You turned around and said that you think there's a little bit more to it than that.
I don't think it was one of those black triangle things.
Well, there's plenty of eyewitnesses. You were there, though, weren't you?
I was in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I was too busy watching Hail Bop. It did come up on the news that night, and we looked at it going, wow, I wonder what that is. But no, quite frankly, when you say black triangle, to me, now I'm being literal, I think of the T3RB thingies? The TR3B thingies? I think it's TRB, triangle thingies things. T3RB, TRB3, TB3, TRB. I'm thinking of those TR3BB thingy, TRB3s.
TRB-3 or TRB3?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think it would be something like that, because that, in my opinion, is actually military, man-made kind of stuff.
Okay.
I think this was more of
how do you know they weren't gassing it up and taking it for a run around the block?
And they just went, oops, and got seen?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. But quite frankly, I have personally seen one of those triangles.
Kevin could have been at the controls. He could have slipped and hit the decloak button. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I have seen one of those near Edwards Air Force Base, and it's pretty darn big, and they make no noise whatsoever. But what I saw, at least the videos I've seen of the Phoenix lights, and I'm going to have to put one up on, we'll do a little bit of nostalgia, put one up on the website and the Facebook page. What I could see was, I don't know, the way the lights come on and off, it really does kind of throw you. You don't know what you're really looking at. It's almost like running lights, but this was in slow motion.
When the exterior of something like that is lit with lights, and the part of those lights turn on and off, it gives you a different depth perception of what the size of what you're looking at is. So when other lights, because I'm pretty sure with the Phoenix lights, it was a triangle formation, but other lights came on around it from memory.
Yeah.
And then other lights came off, so you didn't get a clear indication of what you were looking at. Yeah.
So, well. Anyway, 20th anniversary, so I'll put a little bit up on the Facebook page to help people out with that, and just for nostalgic purposes to remember. And then we can all curse Fife Symington for doing what he did around his press conference and bringing out his chief of staff in an alien suit to make fun of it all.
What a fool.
I think he was. I think it was pretty pathetic. But that's the way it goes. So, yeah, that's about it as far as the Phoenix Lights is concerned. It is the 20th anniversary, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on out in space, and it's been really, really interesting to see some of the things that have been showing up on the moon and on Mars. And one of the things that I saw this week that showed up on the moon is a very interesting little 1-minute blurb that Mr. Walson put up that I will link to. And as he zooms in on it, it looks like you would be looking at an airport with all the buildings and everything around it.
You said that to me, and it looked really, really cool.
So, people, start looking up. Do yourself a favor. I mean, it really is necessary, because there's just so much stuff going on. With all the fun stuff we've been hearing about in the Netherlands and all the fun stuff we've been hearing about in Western Australia politically, I think we're starting to miss some very valid things that are going on scientifically, and even beyond scientifically, just what's going on planetary-wise that we really need to be looking at. So, hey, enough of the politics for a bit, about 2 minutes. We need to look at the other things that are going on. So get your eyes out there, get a pair of binoculars, start looking up in the skies and finding out what's really going on around you. Please.
Last week,
yes,
I played a clip of David Wilcock talking about Antarctica. Since I've seen you last week when you walked out and I walked in, I found another clip in regards to Antarctica with David Wilcock, and it goes into a lot more detail.
Ooh.
Now, we can play it tonight, we can hold off and put a whole show around it. It's totally up to... I'm pretty flexible what you want to do.
How long is it?
We're still on air, aren't we?
I'm thinking, how long is it if we have to play it?
Oh, look, half an hour?
I'd say we should do it.
Okay.
Next week a meteor might hit and we won't be able to do anything.
We're still in air.
Yeah. Okay. A meteor might hit next week, so let's do it now.
Okay. All right.
Question.
Yes. Can I answer?
How intricate does he get?
Ooh. A lot of name dropping.
Okay.
Some pretty big statements in regards to Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah.
Pretty big statements in regards to Kerry. Former Secretary of State.
Yeah.
John Kerry. Amazing information in regards to the bigger jigsaw puzzle. Do you want to just play it?
No, we got to do it. Got to play it.
Okay.
Have to.
All right. Here's David Wilcock talking about in detail what's happening in Antarctica, what's been found in Antarctica, and several of the dignitaries that have gone down there and visited, and what the reaction has been with the armed forces and what they've found when they've been down there. Beyond,
333
D.
One of the problems that we have is people who have not really been educated about the big picture of UFOs. I got broken into a very strange new reality in 1993 when a good friend of mine in college comes in all white-faced and says, "Dude, aliens are real." And I'm like laughing. And he wanted me to sit down, but I could tell pretty quickly he's very serious. Turns out he had a 2-hour private briefing with his college physics professor who had worked for NASA throughout the 1970s. And in the higher echelons of NASA, it was considered common knowledge that extraterrestrials had visited Earth, that they had landed here, that they had crashed their ships, and the ships had been back-engineered into useful technology. And he said, and this was in 1993, within 20 years, the technology that you are going to see will blow your mind. And it will come out in the open. Sure enough, all this technology that nobody had anticipated ends up emerging. And I'm sorry that the truth is so freaking weird. I'm sorry, dude, but, like, reptilian aliens exist. I'm sorry, but there's giants with elongated skulls and their skeletons have been found all over the planet. You can research it and you'll find out. The Smithsonian Institution would say, "Oh, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it." Smithson is the guy that founded the Smithsonian Institution, high-level Illuminati member. 33rd degree Mason, Smithson, yeah, Smithsonian. It's his organization. They were going around and they were grabbing these skeletons, and according to one of my highest-level insiders, in the beginning they were literally taking these skeletons and dumping them out into the ocean because they didn't want anything to ever be found. So they weren't necessarily storing them. Then at a certain point, they realize, okay, we need to hold on to this stuff because this is our heritage. Now, what does that mean? Well, that's what we get into this whole cosmic history of the Illuminati thing. It's about a frickin' cult that does this because they have weird occult ceremonies in which they think that Lucifer is the good guy. Now, why do they think that? Because the God of the Bible created Noah's flood to cleanse the earth of whoever was here before and create what they call the Adam, which is us. We are the Adam. We are a race genetically created and seeded here, and we were given dominion of the earth. Oh my God, David, you're talking about the Bible. Judeo-Christian nonsense, mind wash, brain control. They really take this stuff in the Bible seriously. Yeah, I know, the truth is amazing. It's embarrassing to try to explain to somebody like David Seaman, who's totally new to it. It's like, well, yeah, okay, well, the military-industrial complex has 100 mining colonies throughout our solar system and many others, and they're working with over 900 different types of aliens, and you gotta kind of do the 10% rule. You give people a little bit, see if they can handle it, and then give them 10% more, 10% more. Don't just do a big freaking cosmic download without taking a breath. Now, the focus of the talk tonight is, of course, Antarctica, and to me, this kind of sets the stage for the ancient architecture and the things that we might see once we get down there. Why Antarctica? Because Antarctica is where the founding fathers of the people calling themselves the Illuminati supposedly crash landed when they came to Earth and became what the Bible calls the fallen angels. That's a very important point. They believe that the fallen angels are real, but that because the God of the Bible wiped out their people in Noah's flood, that God must be evil. Because this Adam, which is us, they call us the Adam, they think the Adam is wicked, and they think that they, with all their ancient knowledge and high technology that they crash landed here with, that they are the good guys. So they actually believe that they deserve to rule the earth and that we are not worthy. And so when I explained that bit to our Huffington Post journalist, David Seaman, that's when he got it. That's when he really saw, okay, this is why these people are so sadistic, because they see us as an invasion. Even though they invaded us, they believe that they have a right to the earth, that they belong here, and that we are the insufferable fools who shouldn't be here. So these pre-Adamites, after they blew up their planet, they survived for approximately 445,000 years on the moon. This is the latest, greatest intel. And so approximately 55,000 years ago, they got attacked by, guess who? The Reptilians, the Draco. They had a terrible war with the Reptilians. That's how these ships ended up getting blown up. Their ships were getting shot down. Only a very small number of them actually survived, but they were still giants compared to us, anywhere up to 12 to 14 feet tall. They are badly, badly wounded. They only have a few ships left, and they crash landed on Earth with those ships, which were gigantic in size. And the stories of their landing here were told in a book that should have been in the Bible, but the early Roman Empire said, there ain't no way we're putting this in the Bible because this is our story, and we're going to be exposed if we put this in there. So they removed it, but it's as old as Genesis, and Jesus quotes from it. So these people on the inside believe that Enoch is real and Noah is real. These are real people, and these were real events. Noah's flood is the Atlantean flood, and it's older than we think. It was 12,500 years ago. So in the book of Enoch, Enoch is basically working with these benevolent extraterrestrials, but there were a small number of these people that survived. They crashed here, and according to the new intel, they immediately set up cloning facilities and built lots of bodies for themselves so they could spread across the earth. And they crashed here 55,000 years ago. That's when this all started. But there were a small number of these people that survived. They crashed here, and according to the new intel, they immediately set up cloning facilities and built lots of bodies for themselves so they could spread across the earth. And they crashed here 55,000 years ago. That's when this all started. So, it says in Enoch 7:5-6 that the giants began eating people on earth. They were cannibals to the humans that were supposed to be here. They begged God for forgiveness. Enoch was used as their middleman. That's 13:4. And they got turned down. And as a result of this, the biblical Atlantean flood, the Noah's flood, was created to cleanse them from the earth. Noah, the great-grandson of Enoch, became the guy who preserved the animals and plants and people, one of each species, right? So that we would survive through the flood. And this very likely is some kind of extraterrestrial craft. The Noah's Ark is kind of an allegory of a much more advanced object, and it just becomes a boat in this story because it's been rewritten and rewritten and rewritten, and people kind of missed the original point. So these pre-Adamites, these are the people who were deemed to be the wicked, the giants with elongated skulls, where the flood largely wiped them out, but not completely. Surviving remnants of their population lasted through the flood, even though they were in much smaller numbers than the humans that were then seated here as the Adam. These beings were not completely destroyed. When they survived in Europe and Asia, they eventually made their way into the Egyptian pharaohs. And when they first landed here, before all this crazy stuff happened, this is an important point that we get from the new briefings. They knew that the continent we now call Antarctica had ancient builder race ruins below the surface. It's a very important point. Ancient stuff. 1.6 billion years old is how old they estimate that it was. So their ships were badly damaged, and they landed where they could then tear apart the ships, use the parts that were inside them, use the power systems, and set up their own little enclave because they were badly damaged. So then they colonized those underground bases built by the ancient builders. There were other places they could have landed that would have had better land and better water and better game, but they went to Antarctica because at that time it was tropical. The Earth had not shifted on its axis yet. It was a nice place to be because of the underground stuff that they were able to get into. That's where they started up all this cloning and all this crazy stuff.
Beyond,
Why in God's name did John Kerry go to Antarctica on Election Day? Literally, I'm not kidding. This is a picture of him traveling with the military on the day of the election. Like maybe he's worried that the election isn't going to turn out. He wants to go see it while he's still got the chance, in case Hillary loses. Here he is in Antarctica. Notice that he's not wearing gloves and a hat. It's warm enough down there that you can sail around and be comfortable. That's him in Antarctica. Why was he there? Because recently, as in within the last 30 years, according to some of my insiders, they found new ruins under the ice that are very advanced of these original ancient builders that crash landed there. And here is Buzz Aldrin. And there he is in the middle with his shirt that says, "Get your ass to Mars." Notice that they're on a Russian plane. You can't even charter an American plane in Antarctica. You had to go through Russia. And here it is right there on ABC, breaking news. Buzz Aldrin had to be evacuated from Antarctica. 86-year-old fell ill while visiting the South Pole. We didn't know why. Think about this for a moment, folks. Buzz Aldrin, 33rd degree Mason, goes to Antarctica, advertising "Get your ass to Mars" on his shirt in all of the pictures. What's the relationship between Mars and Antarctica? Well, they know. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is not accidental. This is on purpose. And notice that Mars is embedded inside what? The NASA logo. Antarctica and Mars are connected. They set up kingdoms in every continent, every country. They were the leaders, the rulers. They had much bigger brains, much higher IQs, much better technology, and they subjugated the planet. And there was a catastrophe 50,000 years ago that wiped them out. And then they bounced back. And another catastrophe happens 25,000 years ago, wipes them out again. Then the third one was the one we associate with Atlantis. But the point is, we start to release this information that they found these ruins in Antarctica, that the ruins were technologically advanced, that they found some very cool stuff there. And then we start to hear that there's a plan to release this, and this is actually part of what the Alliance wants to do. Now, I don't want to diss the Alliance. I think it's awesome that they've stood up against the Cabal, and they're bringing the Cabal down, and they want to give us disclosure. But they're also saying this is the only responsible way to do disclosure, because if you do it too fast, people will freak out. That's the excuse. The reality is that if we got full disclosure with the data dumps, all the data that there is, we have to be able to practice the forgiveness that the ancient teachings of all major religions tell us we should be doing. We have to be able to see that these people are not lizards, and they're not monsters, and they're not creatures. And I understand that up to a point. I do understand why they would want to push this thing out 50 years, maybe even 100 years. And drib and drab it out, okay? But here's the thing. Our planet does not have that time. What the hell did we just hear about Fukushima? Right? It's frickin' 560 whatever sieverts per hour, which means that the robots would break down in 2 hours. A human being exposed to it for a flash is instantaneously dead. We have technology that can dial out that radiation like nothing ever happened. It's already there. That's known. the good old insider Henry Deacon told me that people that go into space, they have a little pill that you can take, and once you've taken this pill, you're essentially immune to radiation. You can get a massive dose and nothing happens to you. They have these very thin coatings that they can put on the outside of ships, even including our own NASA space probes. They had them too, because otherwise those guys would have been hash browns inside there, literally. That's why people say, oh, we never went to the moon. And one of the reasons, radiation from the sun would cook you if you don't have the atmosphere. Well, yeah, that's true. But what they don't know is that it was coated with this special polymer that totally shields radiation. So we have the technology. We get this briefing from the Space Program Alliance because people at that level, where they've got all this really advanced technology, they want the whole disclosure to come out. And that's what we're fighting for. Because the things that we're going to get as we get full disclosure will quickly make us capable of forgiveness. So we do all this intel, we get all this stuff put together, and the Alliance people are pushing crazy. We've got to get this out. We've got to get this out. We've got to get this out. And remember, the Alliance doesn't want us to release all this because they want to do this over the course of 50 or 100 years. The Earth Alliance doesn't want us to do this, but the Space Program Alliance does, and the sphere beings want us to do this. So we got different factions that are trying to help the planet, but some of us want us to do one thing and others vociferously oppose. So we're going with what the space program people and the sphere being people have told us they want. And you have to trust that these are benevolent people, especially the higher beings, and that if they're advocating for this, that it's going to work out. Once you have that technology, once you have anti-gravity, you can go anywhere you want, you can travel all over the cosmos, you can see incredible ancient ruins. If you want to, archaeology is probably going to become one of the most common jobs people take on. I want to see those pyramids. There's entire areas inside the Earth of ancient cities that they've barely even explored because they don't have the staff. With all this technology just sitting around waiting for us to look at. They need the numbers, they need the population of people who are going to be proactive enough to want to investigate this stuff. That's a good thing. If this was just a story, just a conspiracy theory, it doesn't explain, okay, why did Buzz Aldrin go down there? Why did John Kerry go down there? Why did the Pope go down there? Yeah. I mean, this is all the Black Pope, right? Some of this is classified. A lot of these people didn't go on a public basis, but they're all going down there. They're all really excited about this. So we're told, hurry. And it freaked me out. I mean, I worked my butt off, and we got it out on December 11th. And literally, I am not kidding, 2 hours after we put this article out, tabloids start saying exactly the same thing, and it ended up on the front page of Drudge Report. But then there it is in italics, the lost city of Antarctica, massive ancient civilization lies frozen under ice. Holy shit. 2 hours after my article comes out? This says the lost city of Antarctica, shock claims massive civilization exists beneath a mile of ice. Antarctica is hiding a huge city underneath more than a mile of ice, according to incredible claims. December 11th. Artist's impression of a doorway to Atlantis. They're getting you ready. And we were told, you've got to get this out before you get scooped. And look, there it was, 2 hours later. Unbelievable. They talk about the Piri-Reis map, and they say, look, it's got the subglacial topography of Antarctica before they were supposed to know what it was. And they quote from Charles Hapgood, the original guy that had the theory that the Earth shifted on its axis in space. Antarctica was originally not on the pole, but it was tropical, and it moved. What they didn't get into was this interesting fact that you can look at Antarctica now, and if you look at the top of this image, it says Subglacial Lakes. So these blue areas are beneath the surface of the ice. The surface is all white and you just see ice. But if you go in there, they know that there are areas where there are lakes, meaning this warm water. And you can take a look and see where the lakes are, meaning this is where the continental masses are, and where two chunks of Antarctica, there's a big chunk on the right, a littler chunk on the left. We only knew that since 1958. But yet, here we have from 1754, the Buachi map from the Vatican showing Antarctica. with a channel in between the middle, right where those subglacial lakes are. So what the heck is going on here? They knew. Antarctica wasn't even discovered until the late 1800s. This is all going to be part of the disclosure. It was mapped back when it wasn't frozen. Back with the pre-Adamites. They copied this over from pre-Adamite books. That's how they got it. That's all part of the disclosure.
Beyond.
The lost city of Antarctica. Shock claims massive ancient civilization lies frozen beneath a mile of Antarctic ice and could even be Atlantis. Isn't that something? Just one day after we were rushed to publish this thing, and I broke my butt doing it. There it is. Now this is what it says in that article. That there were teams down there that had been embedded since 2002 filming the archaeological ruins, getting ready for this disclosure. They've been doing it all that time, 14 years. And then this comes out a couple days later. I was kicking myself that we didn't leak that part of the intel in our article. Because it was so amazing. So though that crew is still down there now, they've been making documentaries for 14 years, and notice it's the year after 9/11. They needed this plan in case the botched job of 9/11 got exposed. And then they need to get a get-out-of-jail-free card. They need to say, oh, well, look, everybody, yeah, we did some bad stuff, but hey, now we're going to give you something good. Can't you be nice? Can't we all kiss and be friends now? That's the Cabal's plan. Now the Alliance wants to actually release this as part of a benevolent disclosure. The only thing we're disagreeing with them on is how fast we get it. But they're setting the stage for that real disclosure with this right here. So then it goes on to say, archaeologist Jonathan Gray claimed that the U.S. government is trying to block the video from being seen because it reveals there is a massive archaeological dig underway 2 miles beneath the ice. Several websites claiming that there is a city in Antarctica and Hitler knew about it, making it a secret Nazi base. What they're doing is they're setting up the release of this video. They're promising something they intend to deliver, folks. They intend to deliver a video that shows a massive archaeological dig 2 miles beneath the ice. That is going to happen. This is the proof. It happened right after we published our intel. Is this a coincidence? No way! But then I did some research. And I start looking up, okay, let me just see if anybody else did something on Antarctica as Atlantis. The mainstream scientific journal known as Science, as good as it gets in academia, published this very strange thing in 1998. Check this out. There it is. There's the Science logo, AAAS. And look at the bottom. March 31st, 1998, ancient ruins found in Antarctica. Scientists, this is in Science Journal, okay? Scientists have uncovered the remains of a massive stone structure and other artifacts estimated to be 4,000 years old in a remote corner of Antarctica. The find, announced at a press conference here today, is the first evidence of ancient civilization on the icy continent and is being hailed as one of the most important archaeological digs of the century. Working in dwindling light just before Antarctica's first sunset of the year in mid-February, a team led by geologist Scott Amundsen of Wyoming State University came across the rubble of a stone building roughly the size of Rome's ancient amphitheater. One of my students tripped over a squat pentagonal block while we were hiking up near Doubleday Glacier, Amundsen says. And in fact, the briefings are saying that the melting of the ice in Antarctica is causing these buildings to poke out now. This is actually real. All the stuff they're telling you here is true. And they're preparing you for the disclosure that they might have done right after 9/11 if they needed it, which is why they sent those guys down in 2002. This was setting that up back in 1998, 4 years in advance. They knew what they were going to find. Doubleday, the glacier, has been receding at an estimated 3 meters per year for the last century, and the last geologic expeditions that they are going to talk about visited it in the 1920s. Previous researchers could have easily missed it, Amundsen says, because there wasn't very many of them. The team worked deep into March, well after the normal end of the field season. So far, the researchers have uncovered the foundations of a massive columned structure that may have stood as high as 30 meters. We have William Tompkins now, who has come out as our big new whistleblower. Here he was as a young man, hired in World War II to debrief American scientists embedded in Nazi Germany's space program, including people that were working in Antarctica. And he confirmed that these ruins were known about all the way back in the late 1930s. They've had a long time to prepare for telling us the truth, which is really stunning. Now, what we're hearing from is that not only is it Antarctica, they're finding that some of the ancient ruins on Earth have very technological things like portal devices actually buried inside the stones, including some of the oldest Sumerian stuff, and this is one of those examples. Those are two ordinary humans of ordinary height, two men, holding, like slaves, an umbrella for a very tall human being, a pre-Adamite. One of these elongated skull guys, one of the giants. There's more proof. One of the things is that they are going to show us rooms that are just literally lined with gold, floors, walls, and ceilings with all this gorgeous inlay. And so there's this place, I believe it's in Indonesia, called Baodong, that has very similar type of a look to it. Not exactly the same, but close. And people go there to pray, and of course all that gold is going to have amazing energy. It's going to be a very energetic spot. This is what they actually do. They're digging holes through the ice, and you see these buildings down there. So I'm going to zoom in selectively on certain parts of this. If you look carefully, you can see there's an obelisk up at the top in the ice. And then there's these ruins. They do look like Pumapunku in Peru. And specifically, the briefing was that Pumapunku was sort of like an extraterrestrial UN. A lot of different groups met there. These ruins, this is sort of what we're going to see when they first release it, something like this. You notice there's a bulldozer in there, and then they got a little tunnel in the back, and there's rails going up. And then when we go down from there, we see this little guy on the left. That's a steam blower. It generates steam, and they use that to melt the ice. And then you see on that wooden cart, they're hauling out the body of a mastodon. So they're finding lots of prehistoric animals underneath the ice. And they're also finding all these pre-Adamite bodies. So these pre-Adamites bred with people, regular people on Earth, and they had a whole different, there were different types of hybrids they made, and some of the hybrids were human-size height, but retained the elongated skulls and had less hair. And this includes Egyptian pharaohs. This is Akhenaten and Nefertiti's daughter, Meritaten. Notice she has no hair and a very elongated skull. I've talked about this extensively. There's the family of Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and their kids with all the pre-Adamite features. They were the survivors of this catastrophe after Atlantis. They didn't all die. The point is, why do we have all these records of this stuff? Because people saw them. They were real. They all died out eventually. But for a time, these beings did exist. So we still have the records of them. When you actually go into the real stuff deep underground, this is the kind of things you see. These gorgeous pillars with light all up and down. And one of the things over in the background, you have an excavation site. So we're going to zoom in on that first. The excavation site has trucks, steam blowers, and then you'll notice that what we're seeing here is some kind of obelisk or pyramid that's being steamed out of the ice. Notice the point of the pyramid. You see that? The white pyramid sticking up with the beams pointing at it. And then over here, where the snow is, on the bottom, we have people walking up out of the craft, and there's the building poking out. You see that corner on the right. That's the corner of a big stone megalithic building. And they had already been pulling out pre-Adamite bodies, and they'd laid them out on the ice, because this is a new expedition. This is new archaeology they're doing here. So what they see there is these bodies of giants wearing these curious outfits. These bodies were really thrashed. Because remember, these people died in a flood. And then if that's not bad enough, with earthquake and flood, then they freeze and are frozen into ice, which becomes Antarctica. All of this was fascinating enough on its own. And then I called up Pete Peterson, and I had a dialogue with him on the phone, but I didn't really want to tell him anything. I just said, what do you know about anything interesting going on in Antarctica? And boy, oh boy, did that open up the bottle. Uncork the bottle and pour up a nice big drink. Holy smokes. So the first thing that he told me when he started the briefing dealt with 15,000 bodies. And this is a morbid but true thing that I'm authorized to tell you. And so they call Pete up and they say, hey, Pete, you're the expert. We got 15,000 dead bodies. What should we do with them to get rid of them? So this is how the briefing starts. You can see we're already like really in the ozone layer here. Very strange stuff. And again, it's morbid, but this is a real war. And what they're doing is they're cleaning up all this stuff first before we ever hear about it. So that there's not going to be a whole lot of work left to do on the surface. And by the time we actually get disclosure, they've already solved most of the problems and the war has been won.
Beyond. 3, D.
Now I asked him a question. Benjamin Fulford recently reported that all of the U.S. aircraft carriers have been brought back into port at the same time. And he said, yes, that's true. The reason that these carriers are all being called in now is to load on weapons that we've never admitted to, and that they weren't going to tell us about these weapons for the next 100 years. But disclosure is moving forward so fast now that they're actually going to tell us about this much sooner. This is very sensitive intel. Now, what are they going to have? They're going to announce weapon systems that shoot laser solitons. The laser soliton will travel forever until it hits something solid, and this is part of the technology they need to actually take down Draco ships, which now the Earth Alliance has. The soliton can go through an 8-foot hull and penetrate directly into nuclear warhead racks. They can get rid of anything, they can shoot it down into the ground, take care of anything they need to take care of. They have things that will take aircraft out of the air. Russia has a nasty plane now, and he thought it was called the S03. This is all part of the briefing, and it goes on. Finally, I get to the subject. Do you know anything about ancient ruins being discovered in Antarctica? And I didn't say anything else. And he doesn't go online. He didn't see my website. He didn't know that I had leaked anything about this. This was totally original. And he says, everybody's been there. Obama. Whoa. He let that one go. Buzz Aldrin. How did Buzz get altitude sickness, he asks me. I heard he said holy 7 times before he reached an altitude of 200,000 feet. 200,000 feet. Yeah, that's way outside the Earth. Because the acceleration is so fast, he'd never seen anything like it, and they had a window for him, so he flipped out. They went around the moon, saw the back of the moon, and then he saw all this stuff on the back of the moon, all these civilizations, and it totally tripped him out. So this is what ended up leading to him having a heart attack. Obama was told, you too can go through a leaf grinder if you say a word, even if you breathe it at night while you're asleep. And they talk to Obama like this all the time. It's really sad. The president does not get a lot of respect. He said they have planes, and this is his funny way of talking, it's not spaceships. He says they have planes that fly regularly to Mars and the moon. He's admitting this now. I say, planes? Not exactly the same kind of planes you're thinking of in the public eye. I said, are you talking about the black triangles with the dome on the top? Yes, that is one type. Then we go on. And the darts. He said, that is another type. I can't mention anything unless you already know what it is. So basically, I have to know the answer first, and then he'll confirm that it's true, and that's how he's able to stay alive. He can't tell me anything I didn't already know. He said they have weapon systems that weren't set to be disclosed for 100 years. That's what they're loading in carriers and airplanes. Is it stuff that will look like flying drones, but full-sized? And I, of course, he's not going to tell me unless I already have the answer. And he totally confirmed it. He said yes. So this is going to be something that we're going to see very soon as part of the disclosure. And the briefing goes on. He starts to describe these 3 different craft and other things. He said there's an airplane that flies up to 200,000 feet at a speed of Mach 12 or 14. That's what actually caused Buzz Aldrin to say holy 7 times. And they're already there. They're just getting ready to turn off the cloaking and show us what they got. Then we get into Antarctica and beings. This is where it gets really interesting. Have you heard anything about giant pre-Adamite bodies being found in the Antarctic ice, complete with elongated skulls? Yes. And then he goes on to say, not only did they find dead ones, but they found living ones that are in stasis chambers. And these are new excavations. They estimate the stasis beings have been there for at least 500,000 years ago, we know of. Now, he had written all this down. He has diabetic neuropathy, and he doesn't always remember dates very well, and his handwriting isn't necessarily readable to himself. And this was a briefing. He was writing things down as fast as he could, and they said to him, we want you to tell David this stuff so I can share it with you. Because what that means is that some of the people from the original Mars civilization, all the way back 500,000 years ago, put themselves in stasis chambers that work so well that some of the surviving 500,000-year-old stasis chambers are still there in Antarctica inside these ships that crashed. They found a gigantic mothership under the ice with a new satellite that uses a lower-than-infrared imaging system. They found a man-made object without any question buried 3 miles below the surface. It was about 30 miles in diameter and looked like a craft. This is where he gets really interesting. How did they get down to this craft? Now that they find it, and it fairly was recently apparently that they found it, how did they get down there? He said they made some things that shot large plastic bags of water down that 3-mile chute as they dig the chute, and then they flash boil it with microwaves, and they eliminate the first 40 feet of ice on top of these things of snow. So in other words, the bag gets dropped, they have very high-powered microwaves, they hit the bag with the waves, suddenly it turns into steam, and the steam evaporates the ice, and that's how they dig down to the craft. Then they followed it with pictures. So they start taking pictures of the craft. Obviously, we're not seeing them. They found round ports, rectangular ports, square ports, knobs, antenna bumps, sensor bumps, telescope bumps. This was a huge thing. It was obviously a craft. Craft were taking off from 2 different directions, the front and the back of the mothership. It had little holes in it where craft would go in and out. The craft would come in from 2 directions, and they would cross over one on top of the other inside the craft. Those things, these motherships, will take craft that we've already seen and call UFOs, and they actually can hold them inside. And then I say, I have other intel that suggests they found a craft that had crash-landed near ancient builder race ruins in Antarctica, and that they had to cannibalize their craft in order to build a settlement. Have you heard anything like that? And he said yes, he confirmed that was true. And then he said they also found an active city of 35 to 40,000 people who were still alive inside those craft after all this time, still living in there. That was the big thing everyone went down to look at, and they wanted to meet some of these new people. We apparently are revered by them. They actually are afraid of us because of our warlike nature. They consider us to be the relatives of their great 500,000-year-old ancestors, but we are like long distant cousins, and so they see us as their long-lost family, and they're very excited about that. Everything we have in still orbit, meaning all the classified space stations and stuff, is now hanging over Antarctica and looking to the other side to look for all these artifacts, because now it's like fully active. I go to him and I say, did you hear about a 30-mile wide mothership? And he said yes. And then he tells me that actually there was 3 of them that have been discovered. And the code names for these ships, believe it or not, are the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. It's the original remnant of the fallen angels, the Luciferian people, the pre-Adamites. But he confirmed that they held multiple spaceships inside, and those spaceships could go outside the Earth's atmosphere, but they didn't have enough fuel to travel outside the solar system. So they stayed within our solar system, and then the Draco were warring with them, so they really didn't leave the Earth. But he said some of the craft that were found inside the motherships were like the Vimanas, and they looked like depictions that we see in Vedic artwork, and some of them look like what we see in Tibet, the stupas. Very interesting. So we have these ruins down there, and Pete has said that the plan is that they wanted to roll this out slowly. They start with a very conventional thing of it's just ruins and it's just humans. They didn't want us to see the giants right away because that's too much, too fast. But now I'm telling you about that part. And then eventually they reveal that they have a secret space program. They reveal the craft that they used to fly Buzz Aldrin around the backside of the moon, causing him to have a heart attack. Then they say, oh, isn't it interesting? We found ruins like this also on Mars and on the moon. They look very similar. Then they're opening it up to full disclosure, and at some point we start finding out about ETs, And the reason why they're doing this is that this is the cosmic history. Evidently, this is what Pete was saying as a summary, and this is his own words that I transcribed. Evidently, it will change our entire world forever, just knowing the information. The way that society will change is so dramatic we can barely even imagine, disclosing what may be the very last stages before we finally get the truth.
Beyond 3D.
All right, Clint, this is what I honestly think is the most important part about this.
Welcome back, everybody, tonight to Beyond 3D. Matt's just about to cut loose in regards to that Antarctica clip.
All right, Clint, I really think this is the most important thing about this. Information like that, to me, is what we need to be concentrating on.
Yes.
The other stuff is fluff. We don't really care. I mean, if we really want to get technical when it comes to politics with a guy like Trump, it's 4 years. It's not going to be 8, personally. It's 4 years. Let that go. What is going on down there right now? What is being found out about this part of the planet and other things that are going on, technologically speaking, will affect us for the next 1,000 years.
Oh, they've called it the biggest discovery of mankind. They put it up there with the return of Jesus.
So, based on that, this is the thing. Our guys know this already. This is the information you need to be following. This is the thing that needs to be researched. This is what we need to concentrate on. Stuff like this. The other stuff is fun. I mean, it is a lot of fun to watch people. But basically, you know what? I'll put it this way. A lot of times, and I think our listeners know this, a lot of times, all the politics stuff, whether it's in Australia or the United States or anywhere, it's children playing games.
Of course it is.
That's all we're looking at.
Until they start doing stuff that affects our sandbox.
Yeah, please don't. But the fact of the matter is, what they're trying to do is to drag us. It's like a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old dragging their parents to the park, and that's the entire world. But the parent knows there's so much more going on over here that they have to deal with. So, Antarctica, and I'm glad we're in Australia because we're closer to it than most, and they have to travel a ways to get there, is going to turn out to be, in my opinion, the fulcrum that allows us to truly not just find out what happened in our history, but also take us out into the galaxy. That's what's going to be going on.
Now,
with
you
that.
mentioned something about Obama before.
He was one of the dignitaries, so to speak, that actually went down there. The Russian head of the Russian Orthodox Church, the Pope. As we were saying, Kerry, a few other dignitaries. Buzzy Aldrin. Busy Buzz. He went as well. So, if you look at what's going on down there, believe me, I want to go. I think it would be very interesting to be able to see. And they found some maps from the 1940s that the Germans had named the different areas down there. They had allegedly run into the dwellers, I shall say, in Hollow Earth. And I think when you run into a group of beings that are so technologically ahead of you that anything you think you could even do, you wouldn't be able to, because they'd be able to pick up your thoughts and stop you before you even almost thought it. It totally changes the dynamic of things. The area in Antarctica, I think, is described now as the one place on the Earth where there is no real countries, there is no real war or anything like that. And I think the reason that is going on, military does go there, but the reason that there isn't all the fighting and things like that going on is because the fact that certain people know what is down there and know that if they make the wrong move, it's over for them.
And it's one of the only places you cannot see clearly on Google Earth either. Lots of it's been blurred out. A lot of the coordinates have been blurred out.
Well, there's got to be people out there that have clear, pristine images.
I think we need to put a call out to Duncan Rhodes up there in Queensland.
And find out what he knows, or what he's heard.
Or see if he can...
Off the record, maybe.
Off the record, maybe on the record, put something together for Nexus on Antarctica at the moment, because it is a hotbed, Duncan. We'd really love you to do a little bit more digging.
Absolutely. I'm more than intrigued. with this. And even Admiral Byrd stated that the North Pole, while it could be an entry point to Hollow Earth, the North Pole is not where it's at. The North Pole is nothing compared to what's going on in the Antarctic. So, hey, that's where I think the information will be found. That's what we need to concentrate on to make sure that all of our guys are up to date, up to speed on everything that is necessary to know. The thing that really irks me about this, and it's always irked me, if you have a benevolent, let's say, society that can see or can treat us, let's say, as kids, or our society as kids, but they're dealing with our officials, you would think they would have the wherewithal to know that these guys are playing games with their own so-called citizenry and do something to usurp them or do an end around them so that the population could actually figure out, oh, this is what's going on.
I tell you what I find really curious. Buzz Aldrin,
yes,
the prolific tweeter that he is, tweeted a tweet when he was down in the South Pole, and it was a snapshot of the giant pyramid that we ran in last week's promo.
I've used the same image that Buzz used on his tweet for our promo for this week, but
it was a snapshot of that, and he had written, "We are all in danger. It is evil itself." And then deleted the tweet.
Okay, here's what will happen with that. But here's what will happen with that. There'll be 15 to 20 people that will interpret that in different ways. Then there'll be another person that says he didn't mean it that way or he didn't say it.
Hang on. No. Don't turn around and spin this in the way that Trump was talking about wiretapping.
But this is what people say.
I'll say it again. We are all in danger.
Right.
It is evil itself. And the snapshot is of the pyramid.
Right.
So if he's saying that we, as in the global community, maybe he's talking about the people on the expedition with him, maybe he's talking about the world in general. But when you finish that sentence with another sentence, it is evil itself, and then he's obviously been asked to remove that from Twitter, which he has. But somebody was very smart enough to take a screen snap of it.
Okay. Now, fair enough.
This is Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah. I have had the displeasure, let's say, of being around something that was absolutely, positively, and unequivocally pure evil. And all I could do was run as fast as I can to get away from it.
Okay.
And I was on a bus, and the bus wasn't going fast enough, so I got off the bus to run.
I remember you telling me that story.
So that is why when I hear what is pure evil? Now, if he got near this thing and felt like I felt, and this is the thing, when you feel something like that, when you're touched by that, here's what happens. Lord of the Rings.
Yes, Sauron.
The Wraiths, when they would screech,
yes,
what would everybody do?
They'd hold their ears,
screaming and run, like that kind of stuff. So if that was his experience, and then he got back to, let's say, base camp, and then wrote that, okay, I need more information on the context of what happened in that thing.
I know you do, and so do I.
Yes, so that's the whole thing. Once again, we need more information. So it's really cryptic when you write something like that with a picture of what looks like a pyramid, half open air, half covered in snow.
What's even more cryptic is that he deleted it. That puts more questions up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he was here last year doing a thing at Town Hall. I know somebody who knows somebody. I might have to make a phone call and see if I can get some information.
Okay.
Because, quite frankly, when you make statements like that, you got to follow it up with something. And if you then just go dark and don't say anything else, you got to really wonder. But with Buzz Aldrin, there's a whole lot of interesting things going on with him insofar as he was supposedly on the mission that actually went to Mars.
Get your ass to Mars. Well, he's constantly wearing the "Get your ass to Mars" t-shirts, isn't he?
Well, they had that video they put up on YouTube. Did I ask you to look at it? I think to see whether or not. No. I'll get it up, and you can look at this video, and what it is. It's a video of an actual mission that allegedly went to Mars, and I believe Buzz Aldrin was one of the astronauts that went on this mission.
Well, you just heard David Wilcock talking about Buzz getting slingshot around the moon.
Oh, yeah.
In what were you talking about earlier? The TR3B?
The TRB3.
The B3, not the 3B.
TRB. Mm-hmm.
So why couldn't he have gone there?
Oh, look, I wouldn't put anything past them. They're just covering up so many different things that you have to say, okay, wait a minute. Okay, give me more information from this thread, more information from this thread, etc., etc., etc. And once you got that done, hey, great. Personally, I think with the astronauts in general, they do the whole threat thing. The whole bit. I mean, there's some guys, go onto YouTube and just look at the early Apollo missions, and the guys are in the command module playing with their pens and things like that. And if you look at the window, you see all the stuff flying by. I mean, there's just so many things going on out there, it's ridiculous. Hey, we have to get more information on it, so that's what we're going to have to do. But as we were saying, Antarctica is starting to reveal itself in ways that are going to make the other things going on this planet pale in comparison.
And shake a lot of things up.
Which is a good thing.
Yep.
Because it's like when you go to Washington, D.C., if anybody has had the pleasure of seeing, it's a beautiful place to go. The architecture and everything is really nice. But
Masonic Central.
Yes, absolutely. The beauty of it is the buildings and everything are made for a purpose. The thing that you notice if you're energetically scanning Washington, D.C. is it's so gargantuan, it's so big, government, that the only way it will ever change is to be totally annihilated. You have to knock it all down and start again. It will not change any other way, which is why you see He Who Shall Not Be Named having so much trouble.
He's got Buckley's.
Yeah, Ice Cube has a better chance in the seventh bowel level of hell.
So we should have said Snoop.
Oh, well, he's there. Oh, I was listening to a couple of the conservative radio stations from the United States saying that Snoop should be put in jail for threatening the president through satire.
For threatening an actor?
Yes, for threatening through satire the president, who was nowhere near
So that means half the cast of Saturday Night Live needs to go to jail as well.
Half the cast of Saturday Night Live, half the news media, everybody should be going to jail.
He's a big baby, isn't he?
These aren't. This wasn't Trump's. Trump did say this in a tweet, actually, that this should be jail for Snoop. But
he also turned around and said that Snoop had a failing career.
Well, what else?
You know what?
Everyone who does something he doesn't like is a failing career guy.
Snoop Aloop has a red-hot career.
Oh, look, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I didn't see the whole video, but then at the end of the video, the guy's dressed up in clown makeup with the blondish wig on, fat belly, white shirt, and everything like that.
Red tie.
He pulls out a gun and it goes one of those Batman kind of things.
Yes, bang.
Bang, and the thing drops down with the little saying on it or whatever it was. And that is a threat. And people actually, it is the dumbest thing I have ever heard if they believe that to be a threat. It's satire.
Jeez, if he hung with my mates for a weekend, he'd be pooping his pants.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
That's all we got time for, Matt, this week.
Oh, well, guys, you take good care of yourselves out there. Watch the skies, watch the news, and watch a lot of the alternative news per se, because that's where you're going to get the really interesting information. And we will keep you up to date with everything on the Facebook page during the week if anything breaks on the Antarctic situation and we get some more really pertinent information. So take care of yourselves, and thanks for listening this week.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Welcome back, Matt.
Welcome back.
Good night.
Good night.
Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.